Well, hi there. How are you? I really hope that this year is going to be a great one for you. I hope it's going to be filled with prosperity, happiness, fulfillment, clarity, and enough awareness that will serve you well. As you can see, my cat is sitting in the back over there. And if my eyes keep wandering to the side, it's because I have the camera preview here and there, so sometimes it catches my eye. Anyway, I made a decision with this recording that I'm gonna do it all in one go. I'm not gonna be doing it several times, even though, truth be told, this is the 5th time I've done this recording and found myself pushing back and thinking it's not good enough. So, I've been sitting here recording for roughly 40 minutes now. But the point is, one of the things that I've decided to do, or rather reaffirmed myself to do, because it isn't something new to me, is to be more honest, more sincere, and more genuine, to put myself out there, to not place filters and get lost in the maze of editing and proofing and layering and producing, in a sense that the truth behind all of that gets overshadowed and overglazed by these layers that will filter out the soul and the genuine interaction that is within. Now, here's the thing. I remember watching a TV show about superheroes, even though I'm not that into superheroes, but sometimes, some of them are good. The shows, I mean. And in this show, the superheroes are actually the villains. They have superpowers, but they are really human beings that have human behaviors. And while they act out this genuine superhero behavior, it gets mentioned that they're just saying that. It isn't true. It's just public relations doing their job and painting a perfect picture of this character. And it really hit a chord with me, because I prefer true, genuine interaction, because that thing where everything is scripted and not being said truthfully, and it's been had to be refined and fixed until it reached a point that's ready for production. It raises this sense of distrust. You don't know whether or not the person is speaking the truth. Is this really who they are? Are they just behaving in front of the camera or in front of society or in front of people just so that it would be presentable? Now, distrust. To have your trust betrayed, and this is not related to the superhero movie or series that I watched, but it's a subject on its own. To have your trust betrayed, it stings in a way that does not leave you. It's like a dagger that's been driven into your heart, and you continue to have that aftertaste for a long time. You don't know if you can trust again, and you don't know if you do trust again, whether or not the person you trust will be worthy of that trust. However, I do believe that yes, you can trust again, and you can find people who are worthy of your trust. However, you grow more experienced. Your capacity to be a refined, good judge of character grows through these bad experiences, especially if you're at a young age and you get into relationships with a lot of people, and I mean relationships as in friendships, acquaintances, relatives, etc. And you put your trust prematurely into people because you tend to be more gullible at a younger age than you are as you grow older. And that gullibility, it puts you at risk of being betrayed. And perhaps you have been betrayed before. But those are excellent teachers, and they teach you to be very selective with those you trust, be very selective with those you associate with, and it makes you refine the pool of friends and people you stay in touch with. You decide that instead of having 100 friends who are not really your friends or who are good for you, you would rather have 50, and then after that same process, and then you decide, no, I'm good with 10, and then I'm good with 5. But it isn't just a decrease in quantity. It isn't that you've become recluse and secluded and have no friends and you're this bitter, sad person. No. You refine your connections to people who really love you and to people who matter to you just as much as you matter to them. And I'm not even talking about family or loved ones who are in your life for the long haul, let's say, but I'm talking about people who you come across in this journey, in this life. And one other thing that I've decided to do, besides doing this recording in one go, no edits, no filters, another thing I decided is to stop saying because if I have to say it, and this is my inner monologue, okay, if I have to say it's like a filler, or it's because I didn't explain it or describe it well enough that I had to resort to telling you, I'm just kidding. Another thing, and this was pointed out to me a little while ago, that the podcast that I do, this channel that you're listening to me from, it's too serious. And I was surprised. I didn't think that I'm too serious. However, I do know that I've always aimed to only speak about things that have value, things that would add to the listener and that would benefit. However, perhaps by doing that, I was being too rigid and being too careful with my words and with my approach and with the sentences that I construct in my speeches, which actually makes me remember a thing that I used to do when I started this podcast. I used to be very critical to a point that I wanted to always be sharp. I always wanted to be concise with the messages that I do. And that stemmed from the desire to provide high quality, obviously, but it also stemmed from my self-critical behavior. I was always too judgmental of myself. I always projected that people would judge me the way I judge myself. And that isn't really a pleasant thing, I'll tell you that. I've always been, putting myself on a standard that would make me uncomfortable, because I used to think that, hey, if people see that, they will judge you and they will think of you the things that you think of yourself, which aren't bad, I'll tell you that, but Here's an example that will define it. You know, when you have specific knowledge in a specific field, and you know all the ins and the outs, because that's how you know yourself. Everything that you think, you know about, because you're thinking these thoughts. And I would think that people know these thoughts, and they know the knowledge that I do have, and they will judge me specifically based on everything that I know, even though in reality people don't really think about you as much as you think about yourself. They don't judge you as harshly as you judge yourself. And while you might view yourself as the center of your world, which is a good thing to do, honestly, they are the centers of their own worlds, and they are too busy thinking of themselves, too busy focusing on themselves, judging themselves, thinking that everyone thinks about them the same way they think about themselves. And even though you would remember things that you've done, things that maybe were embarrassing, or things that you said, nobody remembers those things or thinks about them the same way you do. An example is, maybe you did something and you thought it was embarrassing, or you said something you thought was a disaster. People who, let's say, heard that, they thought it was cute or funny or silly, and that's it. They forgot about it. They wouldn't even remember it until you bring it up. So the point of all of this is, be kinder to yourself. Allow yourself to make mistakes. Allow yourself to express and put yourself out there if you want to. Don't be a prisoner of this ideal, because I was honestly a prisoner of these ideals that, hey, you have to act perfectly, and you have to only say things that have value. Otherwise, then you'll be smitten and you'll be judged harshly. While the reality is, you wouldn't be judged. Nobody will. Like, here's the thing. If at any point someone doesn't want to listen to this recording, I'm not holding them hostage. They can just stop. They can just close this. I hope they don't. I hope they continue listening to this. I hope they find it useful and helpful and funny and entertaining, enlightening. I really hope all of those things. However, if they don't, they're not forced to keep listening to this. They can at any moment just close this recording. It's the same thing with you. If someone doesn't want to have you in their lives, they can just leave. And that gives you an indication. Those people who are in your life, they care about you and you matter to them, and they don't judge you harshly. Now that's the first thing. The second thing is, by acting out, by practicing, by doing, you get to gain two things. The first is you gain experience, you grow better, you grow smarter, wiser, you learn and you develop and you enhance yourself, and you become this person who is much better because you've tried a lot of things and you've done a lot of things. And the second thing is, you create beautiful things without realizing it. Let's say you go out there and you do your thing. You try to learn an instrument and you mess up with 20 instruments. You play the drums, you play the guitar, you play the cello, etc., etc., etc. And you create several messes, but a few times you've created something really beautiful. You've recorded a piece that turns out to be something that you cannot replicate. It's just something that turned out to be excellent. I've never played instruments, but I did, but it wasn't anything serious or to talk about. But let's say what I did with art. I used to just play around, I used to, I just said, I, anyway, so I used to experiment with art, create stuff, just have fun with it. I've created robots, I've created art pieces that to me now don't make any sense. However, when I look back at them, because I see them, I look back at them, they are gorgeous, they're beautiful, and I would not have created them if I kept this mentality that I have to only do things that are perfect, only do things that have value, and if I don't, I'll judge myself harshly. And the other thing is, doing them was fun. I was having fun. I was not constrained by this seriousness, Hell, even this recording, I'm letting myself just enjoy it, just do it, just connect with you. I want us to have that. I want to have that. I want you to have it. To have content that's truthful, wonderful. Because here's the thing, and I don't always share these things, but I do get feedback on the podcast that I create. Usually the feedback is directly to myself. It isn't posted on my public accounts. No, someone would DM me or send me a message. And it's so heartwarming that I just talk to them back and say, hey, wow, thank you. I'm really glad you enjoyed my podcast. So the feedback I get is, what you do helped me through a difficult time. I enjoy listening to you to a point that I'm repeating the podcast episodes. And that blows me away. I never thought that would happen while I'm recording these things, these recordings, these episodes. I always think, hey, I'll do this recording. It's going to help a few people. It's going to talk about a specific subject, and that's that. However, and this is the beautiful thing about life. This is the beautiful thing about creating, is that you never know 100% what's gonna happen. There's a sense of adventure. There's an amount of mystery in what the outcome will be. Now, truthfully, even this recording that I'm doing now, I'm not certain what's gonna happen once it goes out there. Maybe it hits with you. Maybe you're the one person who's gonna connect with this 100%, Third time I said, See, I'm really keeping myself on those goals that I have. And, well, they're not goals, they are decisions. I've decided that I'm not gonna say that again. So, anyway, I'm gonna, I think we're at 19 minutes now. So I'll stop here, but I'll be doing these more often. And I'll tell you one last thing, okay? I like this element of genuine interaction where I'm just speaking up, I'm saying these things without having to put myself in a very serious cage where I have to be specific, I have to tailor every little detail to perfection and not say a single word that is out of line. Because while that works, that's good, that's fine, but to me at least, it takes out that character. It eliminates the character and just gives you a script. There's just like seriousness, and I'm talking to the microphone saying serious things. I'm not saying I've done that before, I've never done it. However, when I put myself in that constraint, I try to wiggle while staying inside of this constraint, while the opposite, which is this, I want it to be fun. I want it to be, fluid, and that's just okay. Just this is really the last thing, and then I'll conclude. So there's a beauty in having something flow organically, naturally, rather than it being forced. And this does not have anything to do with the podcast or what I've always done, but it is a thought that I've had and I don't want it to go to waste. I want to say it now. It's beautiful to have things flow smoothly and naturally. You know, if you feel like recording, if you feel like dancing, if you're listening to a song and you're just moving with it, go with the flow. If you talk to someone and you feel a connection, go and talk to them. However, when you sense yourself hitting walls and feel like this is forced, this is something that's not really coming naturally, then stop and reevaluate. Why are you doing something that doesn't come to you naturally? Why are you doing something that is not you? And when you combine those two, doing things that come naturally, that flow with you, as opposed to doing things that don't come naturally to you, you will become more yourself. You will become more in tune with who you are, with your character, with your soul, with your mind, your thoughts, and your thoughts will become clear and you will be filled with clarity. So that is all. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, a wonderful life. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.